A Yaucha's rage is unleashed. This is your look at the new Hiya Toys Predator's Exquisite Mini of Berserker Predator. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures from Hiya Toys. Before we look at the final figure of this extraterrestrial trio, the first thing we're going to do is calculate out just how tall the Berserker Predator stands, and then we'll do some comparisons to the other Predators. I'd also like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provided the samples of all the 3 Predators that we've had a look at in this review, as well as a whole bunch of upcoming Exquisite Minis as well. If you like Exquisite Minis, there's a whole lineup of reviews coming your way, so stay tuned for those. Don't get ahead of ourselves, though, says the humbled reviewer. According to the Berserker Predators, well, at least according to my tape measure, the Berserker Predator stands 5 inches, exactly. And switching that to centimeters, then you're looking at the figure standing 12.8, a little over 12.5 centimeters tall. As promised, here's the other Predator figures that we've had a look at. The Falconer Predator. And just recently, we've also had a look at Tracker Predator. Just kind of give you guys an idea. All these 3 Predators all have one thing in common. Yes, they do like to hunt humans for sport. But the other thing is, though, that they're all the same height to one another. They've changed, of course, the mold from one to the other so that they're all not carbon copies. But they all are roughly about the same height to one another. Some other comparisons we can also bring in. Not one I had done before, but I thought it would be fun. We'll bring in the Flash. Fastest man alive. Can he outrun someone that hunts humans, again, for sport? I don't know. And then also just another comparison, we can bring in RoboCop, just to kind of give you an idea. RoboCop's about the same height as Flash. Of course, they are humans after all, but they are a lot smaller than the Predator figures just behind them. You know, looking at also the idea of Predators hunting humans for sport. If they haven't done so already, and they haven't considered the idea already, certainly would love to see AVP releases of the Predator figures as well, including the Celtic or Celtic, one of my all-time favorite designs of the Yauchas. Berserker gets a bunch of accessories, and we'll have a look at those right now. As we've done in the other instances also, we'll have a look at his display stand first and foremost. A nice, shiny, muddy terrain with one singular peg, just kind of veering off to the side here. It's got some real nice texturing. Again, not much has changed between this one and the ones that we have looked at before. Case in point, we'll bring in the other ones that we've looked at. I've already taken the liberty, if you remember in the Tracker Predator review, of joining these and connecting them together. And as you can see, you've got yourself one consistent terrain. Now, I can either add on to this by going this way, I can also go this way, and I can also go this way. Well, you get the idea. The only thing you really can't do is if you wanted to put them dead center, the slots don't quite line up to one another because, of course, they have to be able to line up over here, and they have to be able to line up over here, that they just don't line up right here. I guess what you could do, I'm going to go ahead and take one of the eye brackets, throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to line it up still nonetheless to this section right here. It just will mean that when it comes to displaying them, I'm not going to have one connecting this to this side of the stand. But at least that way, I've actually got myself sort of a Olympic stand section that all the Predators can get awarded the gold, the silver, and the bronze for most kills. This will also give me the opportunity then to display the 3 Predators, maybe the Berserker in the front, and the Tracker and Falconer in the back. So again, you can do a whole bunch of customization if you want to, even though technically that's not supposed to be there. I'm throwing caution to the wind nonetheless and decided to put that there anyways. The other accessories that come included with the figure now, the other ones had come included, if you recall. The other 2 Predators came included with Yaucha skulls. And just to show you, just so you don't think I was fibbing you, here's the Yaucha skulls or Predator skulls that came included with both the Tracker and the Falconer. Why I draw this attention to you is the fact that they did come with the exact same one, but Berserker gets something a little bit different. he actually comes included with a human skull, ripped still and attached to its spinal cord. It's very blood-soaked, so it looks like it probably was just recently done. Nice detailing actually on the skull. For such a small little thing, it's marvelous the fact that they can actually put so much detail in there. And it really, again, because this is a 1/18th scale of skull, you can most definitely even display it with other 1/18th scale figures, 3 3/4 inch figures, Star Wars perhaps, G.I. Joes. Maybe Cobra's gotten their hands on a skull. I don't know. You could do that if you wanted to. But that's really cool. I like the fact that they do include something different, something to break it up, so that they're not all consistently coming with Predator skulls. Other accessories, and not much has changed here either. He comes included with a pair of closed fists. That's not technically true. He comes with one closed fist, and he comes with one open or grabbing hand. This is one slight departure versus the other Predators that we've had a look at, because this one actually does fit the skull in his hand. Or not so much the skull, but the spinal cord fits and drapes quite comfortably as it could be for holding a human's spinal cord, but at least he has the means to display it with it, and that's a nice touch as well. It doesn't mean it actually goes on this side of his arm, so when you are putting this into his hand, you just want to be careful. This blade sticking from his gauntlet is made of a softer plastic. That's at least smart on Hiya's part, so it doesn't mean it's going to break. There's a little bit of give and flexibility to it. But you will want to still move that out of the way if you want to get access to this arm. And you're just going to go ahead and wiggle the hand off. In a way, I could have hoped at least that it would have been on this side, because there would be less stuff that you have to get around to get access to it. But again, you just wiggle the hand off, free it from the peg, just like so. There we go. And then you can go ahead and just add the hand. Again, the hardest part, if anything, is just the fact first that you have to deal with such a small peg. Then you've also got the gauntlet sliding around on you. Again, I wish it could have been on the other side, just because I feel like it would have been a lot easier to get your finger in there without running the risk of breaking and bending this in any way. This is what it looks like with a Berserker Predator holding the skull in his hand. This will be my preferred look for displaying the figure when eventually I put these on display. The other accessory he does come included with is a plasma caster shoulder-mounted cannon. Wow, that's a mouthful. And it attaches, there's a ball joint you can probably see on the bottom side here, and it fits into this hole. While the hole does seem it's large enough to be able to accommodate the ball joint is made of still soft plastic. So it sometimes is difficult to get that into the shoulder. What I ultimately ended up doing was I took the shoulder cannon off completely, and I just opened that hole up just a little bit more with a small screwdriver, just so I would be able to fit that completely and snug in place. It does allow for a little bit of posability, but a lot of the posability then results in the actual gun falling back off of his shoulder. And like I said, it just sort of fits in place, just very carefully fits in place. Removing the spinal cord from his hand, because I know it's going to be something that's probably going to fall off eventually. Just going to put that to the side. And having a look, though, at the Berserker Predator. Smaller in a smaller 1/18th scale. But there's certainly no denying the fact that there's a lot of detail that they still managed to cram into such a small released Predator. He has a whole lot of good stuff going for him. Now, if we do some comparisons, I'm going to bring in, say, the Falconer Predator, because I did want to show you one thing. It looks like that the top shoulder section may have been reused, at least this half of it right here. I mean, there's no denying the fact that when you look at the shoulders on this side, the Berserker Predator has a much more intricate-looking shoulder armor versus the one that came for the Falconer Predator. If you spin it around, though, it does seem like the backs are very much identical, at least on this side. So it seems like Hiya Toys are probably reusing elements of one Predator to the other, and that's, again, perfectly fine. The coloring does change, though, and does make them then unique to one another. The shoulder armor and overall armor on the Berserker Predator sort of has almost a reddish tint to it, where the Falconer Predator is closer to more a gunmetal gray. The sash, or this section of the shoulder armor, is a little bit different also from one to the other. And when you even look at his loincloth, the loincloth also doesn't share the same mold. This one has a little bit more of a stark point. This one here is a little bit more rounded along the bottom. Putting that figure to the side, and again, just bringing another one so we can show you. I can show you the difference between the two. Here he is next to the tracker predator, which honestly, for me at least, I think I like the tracker predator the most. There's just something charming about big giant tusks sticking out from his helmet there. Of course, the helmets are quite drastically different. While the tracker predator sports a pair of tusks, the Berserker predator, as you can see, sports a bottom skull jaw. Really interesting the way that they had designed that in the film, and carries well to here the smaller rendition of the Berserker predator. Lots of detail can be had here in the helmet. Like with the other predators, you can see there's imperfections that they've sculpted to the surface, so it doesn't look like a brand new helmet. Love the design of that. The skull is really an interesting touch, not something I would have expected to see on an actual Yautja armor. Speaking of his armor, though, again, you've got that nice reddish tint that they've done to the majority of it. That carries also into his forearms, both that and the gauntlet blade here on this side, which is technically removable if you wanted to. It's just something that sits and just loops over top of the forearm. So as soon as you basically pull the hand off, you can then quite freely move the gauntlet off and take it off completely if you wanted to. Berserker Predator also has a whole bunch of this additional treatment done to his torso, and also for his arms as well, adding some much needed black and much needed red. It sort of mirrors a bit the colors and pattern work that you normally expect to see on like a gremlin. I feel like it's very much like gremlin colors. I don't know why I'm mixing those two properties. But you get a whole bunch of those little spots of red and black also there on the forearms. Not so much on the back. You get more of it here on the front. Leads me to believe he's tattooed that or painted that on his torso. Of course, you've got the loincloth here, skirt down below, covers off both sections of his thighs with that front middle section done, and all of this is created and produced in soft plastic. So there's some nice give when it comes to the leg articulation. Nice detailing also done to the side of the leg. Almost has scales and fins to it, painted and accented here in white and red. I like the color scheme on this guy. Although when you look at his arms, for example, and you look at his legs, there's almost a sheen to it. Well, in fact, you probably can see it right now. It's almost like a semi-gloss clear coat that they've added to the surface. And while he doesn't have it as much in his arms, it does have a little bit of then reflection that's causing the light to bounce off both his arms and, like I said, his legs as well. Really nice the way that they've done that. Still has the same encased boots as both the Falconer and the Tracker Predator. So, and again, the problem when these come into play is when you come to articulation, sure, yes, the feet can rotate all the way around, but you really can't do too much up and down, nor can you do much left and right. Speaking of articulation on this guy, his head rotates back and forth. Just again, be careful. I'm already knocked this off a couple of times already. Actually, just before we do the rest of the articulation, I want to show you guys just the dreadlocks that they've done on these. Soft plastic, so it means that there's a little bit of give to them, and that they very comfortably then fit over shoulders. It's not a dense plastic that they use. Love the additional crimson red that they've added to that. Anyways, though, continuing the rest of the articulation, the head goes up and down. He has actually a collar on the just underneath his head, if you can see it there as well. Head moves back and forth, though. There goes the plasma caster. I knew it was going to fall off. Head goes up and down, and you can rock it also back and forth. Shoulders hinge out at a very comfortable 90-degree angle bend. You can also rotate the arms all the way around. The armor is soft enough as well that when it comes time to moving the armor doesn't get in the way of things, doesn't prevent you then from moving the arms back and forth. In addition to that, the elbows bend back and forth. You can also rotate the forearm all the way around, and you can also rotate the hand all the way around. Upper torso is on a ball joint as well. In addition to that, it has a secondary ball joint just at the midsection. So this is basically a top half articulation point in a ball joint. Losing my train of thought here. And then there's a secondary ball joint right at the base or midsection of the body. The legs split out quite comfortably as well. There again is the ball joints working behind the scenes. There's a swivel at the top, cut of the thigh. The legs move forward, the legs move back. Nice, soft plastic staying out of the way. That's the way that it should be. He does have a double hinge on the knee. I notice on this figure that the legs are a little on the looser side versus the one that we had looked at before. And then in addition to that, we've already discussed this already, but we'll mention it one last time. The feet rotate all the way around, but because the feet are encased inside plastic boots, it does limit a little bit what you can actually do, hinging those feet up and down. And the ankle pivot is pretty much nil and gone. Still, though, a nice looking figure. You got the peg holes on the undersides of his feet. And then again, for final looks, we'll just go ahead and put him along with the rest of the Predators that we've looked at. I mean, looking at the three, I think my favorite is still the Tracker Predator. I've always had a thing for also the Falconer Predator. Surprisingly enough, the Berserker Predator was one of my least favorite designs of the Predators from the new Predators film, or somewhat new Predators film. But collectively, all three of them look fantastic together. Smaller in scale, 1/18th scale to be exact, all produced again by the folks over at Hiya Toys. Yes, admittingly, while Berserker Predator may be my least favorite design of all the three Predators, boy, he does translate nicely still to 1/18th scale, produced by Hiya Toys. The coloring on this guy has that nice dark, rich swamp green with nice red accents to it. Not to mention as well, his armor has a nice reddish coloring to it, like it's been rusted. It has a little bit of oxidization to it. I like the design of him in a smaller scale, and even though I don't like his movie counterpart, he looks quite good with the other two Predators that we've had a look at. Now that I've had a look at all three Predators, I can still stand by my feelings that I think, the Tracker Predator the most, then the Falconer Predator, and at a distant bronze, ironically enough, about the color of his armor, is the Berserker Predator. To his credit, at least he does come included with the skull and the spinal cord. That's a nice touch, and certainly going to be the way I'm going to display the figure. It's nice that they broke that up a bit and not gave him yet another Yautja skull. These figures are superposable, and again, going back to a talking point I had mentioned with now all three figures, there's something again about the quality on these particular pieces. Not putting shade at all on the other ones that they produced in the past, but there's definitely more weight, substantialness. You'll see it for yourself if you pick up these pieces for yourself, how much heavier these pieces feel. Even though they are 3 3/4 inch, there definitely has a little bit more substantial plastic, I feel, that they put into these pieces versus the other Predators that we've looked at before. It could easily just translate to the fact that they're also taller Predators, that maybe, again, that's throwing off the weight for me. But there definitely feels like there's a different plastic that they're using, and definitely in a good, positive way. Nicely painted pieces. Not much in the way of accessories, mind you, but they certainly make up for it in the sculpting as well as the paint applications. Let me know down below in the comments section what you think of these Exquisite Mini Predators and which one is your favorite of the three. A big thank you again to the folks over at Hiya Toys who provided the samples of all three Predators that we had a look at in this review, as well as a whole bunch of other exquisite minis that we'll be having a look at in the upcoming videos on this channel. If you're liking the content you're seeing, consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. Turn the bell notification on if you haven't done so already. And stay tuned to this channel Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when new videos will be popping up. I did that by myself. We don't have a budget for special effects. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do, and I'll see you guys next time.